And a U.S. Supreme Court ruling announced today is going to impact public corruption cases. The High Court overturned the case of James Snyder, the former mayor of Portage, Indiana.
This will send ripple effects to other cases like the ComEd 4, as well as the charges against House Speaker Mike Madigan and perhaps even former Governor Rod Blagojevich. NBC5's political reporter Marianne Ahern is here to explain. Far-reaching here.
All day it has been an interesting reaction going on. The High Court threw out a key part of the federal bribery statute, and it's going to set a new standard for when the feds charge politicians with public corruption. Snyder's attorney tells us she's pleased this ruling will limit the reach of the government. Former Portage, Indiana Mayor James Snyder, seen here with his family, took his appeal all the way to the Supreme Court with a high-powered Washington, D.C. law firm representing him. Snyder was convicted, sentenced to nearly 2 years in prison for taking $13,000 from a trucking company after prosecutors say he steered them $1 million worth of city contracts. Patrick Collins is a former U.S. attorney.
I do think it's a higher bar. I don't think any objective observer here could argue there's anything but a higher bar now for the government.
Justice Brett Kavanaugh wrote for the conservative majority that some gratuities can be problematic. Others are commonplace and might be innocuous. The dissent from Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said Snyder's argument was an absurd reading of the law that only today's court could love. The Snyder ruling will impact two big Chicago cases, the ComEd 4 and Mike Madigan's upcoming trial. Scott Lazar, who represents former ComEd CEO Ann Pramaggiore, says the Supreme Court made it clear what Ann Pramaggiore was charged with is not a crime. He also adds it would be very hard for them to prevail, have to show a quid pro quo. Defense attorney Richard Kling.
I think it has serious implications.
The question whether the government will walk away from the case, I think that's very unlikely.
As well, the feds will now be forced to narrow the 23 counts former House Speaker Mike Madigan faces. Madigan's trial delayed already until this ruling was announced.
It won't change the aggressiveness of the investigations. It very much will change how prosecutions are brought and when they're brought.
And the Snyder decision might even have meaning for someone else.
It'll be interesting to see, although it's a long time, whether former Governor Blagojevich comes back and tries to set his conviction aside.
Blagojevich says his legal team is exploring all options. As for the Ed Burke sentencing, the judge last week ruled the Snyder case was not a factor in Burke's charges. Therefore, his sentencing continued this week. Back to you guys.
Fascinating.
Really interesting. Yeah, the ripples indeed. Thank you so much, Marianne.